How scary should we consider it to be when a bloodthirsty MAGA calls for civil war? How likely is a civil war? What historical analogies might we find to this sort of ideology? Let's discuss it. I have a video to play for you. This is from outside Donald Trump's rally in Florida last week. And here is a Trump cultist who is openly calling not only for Trump to return to power, but really to start a civil war. I'm going to play the clip for you, and then we're going to discuss it.
When you say go after them, what do you mean?
Arrest them, imprison them for violating our Constitution.
How do you do that?
Police are probably with us.
I mean, the police will be on the side of
the patriots. They sure will. They haven't been corrupted yet, as far as I know.
I mean, that's an actual civil war that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You believe that the election was stolen in 2020?
Absolutely.
An actual civil war, and the police will be on our side. There's actually a lot of substance here. It's 30 seconds, but there is a ton of substance here. We have to acknowledge, as we think about, I want to try to get beyond Trump. And as we think about the political future of the United States beyond Donald Trump, we have to understand that the rise of this fascistic MAGA movement has activated some of the most hateful Americans and brought them to the surface. As I've said before, I don't believe Trump created racism or anti-Semitism, but he certainly made a lot of the people who have those beliefs far more comfortable in sharing them publicly and far more comfortable in acting on them. One of the things we learned thanks to MAGA Trumpism, and it's a horrible thing to learn, but it's also useful, is that there are far more of these people than we might have assumed. Many of them didn't vote. And when Trump showed up, they started to vote. They became active. The first thing that's critical to understand is when you start seeing this sort of civil war rhetoric, we're going to use the police and or the military in ways that Trump has talked about and his supporters have talked about. We're going to use it to essentially fight this civil war domestically. This is the sort of incitement to violence and social unrest that can really have, I don't want to call them unintended consequences, because for a lot of these people, I think they are exactly the intended consequences, but it can have very serious consequences. When individuals or groups start romanticizing the idea of a civil war, we're going to get out there and with the police and the military patrolling, we're going to take care of these leftists and we're going to prosecute the people, we're going to jail them, etc. Even if that doesn't literally happen, it will likely embolden people to commit all sorts of acts of real world violence. And we don't have to imagine that it might happen because we saw it happen on January 6th. Number two, people like me, and I know many in the audience, share my goal of trying to fix the breakdown of civil discourse and polarization. Now, this isn't some pie in the sky stuff where we're going to come to the table with literal KKK people and say, hey, let's figure out, let's come to some agreement on immigration. Like they're too far gone as far as that goes. But at least in some sense, with regard to the elected officials, we have this idea that maybe we could get back on policy in some way, shape, or form. That's not going to happen when the Civil War people are advocating like this guy's advocating. And then thirdly, implicit in calling for such a civil war and saying we're going to take the DOJ and weaponize it, and then the police and or military will be on our side as well, and then we'll destroy or totally take over the Department of Education in order to do this, that, the other thing. Once we do all that, we are also undermining democratic institutions, which only signal boosts the authoritarianism and disdain for democracy that these people have. So guys like this, yeah, obviously he's nuts. Obviously he's dangerous. Obviously he believes things that aren't true. But it really can have an impact in the real world. So that's one aspect of this that I think is absolutely critical to remember. One last thing. The police will be on our side. There's actually a lot there. That's interesting too, because in the aftermath of January 6th, the story was, even though they said for years, we support the police and Democrats don't, by January 20th, by the day Biden was inaugurated in 2021, let's put it that way, they were against the FBI. They were against the CIA. They're all thugs, politically motivated, can't trust them, don't have our interest in mind. And also, at least the Capitol Police are no good either. So it's very interesting that a lot of these fascist wannabes historically assume the police and the military will be on their side. We had this period right after January 6th where all of a sudden federal law enforcement and Capitol Police, at least some elements of law enforcement, were no longer assumed to be on their side. They've fallen back into it. We're seeing a regression to the mean where that's what they end up believing. I happen to believe, and I know that there's different views in my audience about this, I happen to believe that what the generals have said is true, which is if Trump really tried these things, he would not have the military on his side. As far as law enforcement means a lot of different things I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I'm curious to see what you think when you see this.